Hello again, and for today I'm going to be following up my time-based commentary that I did previously with the follow-up, which is Time and the Truth. And to make the dad joke of the commentary, I'm going to say it's about time, because we finally found the time that was appropriate to be talking about such a subject. So obviously the coronavirus outbreak has happened. We are in the middle of the quarantine right now. I bet a lot of you are still stuck at home as you're listening to this. And, there were at least a handful of people, myself included, but not publicly, looking into the situation and commenting on it and even reacting to it. Back when I had my most recent Twitter account, I was making the Batsuit memes. I have the wild game epic Chinese eating compilation video on my BitChute channel, because they will not reinstate it on here, and I do not want to re-upload and get myself into more trouble. So it's gonna live there for now. But obviously some of you saw that video and saw how fuck awful it was, and it was basically some of the evidence presented as there's something going on in China related to this coronavirus. In between all of those weird videos being circulated, you had the story about the biolab that apparently leaked the virus accidentally. Not corroborated story, obviously, but some people believe it to be the source of what happened. And as China suppressed this, more people were paying attention and gathering onto it. And obviously once it hit Italy, it became kind of a big story, and then it spiraled out into all of us being locked at home. So there were a couple people that noticed this early, and like I said in my nihilism commentary, Mr. Mediker was definitely one of them. And based on his formula, and I would say also Tucker Carlson's formula, who ended up potentially saving all of us and telling President Trump to fucking take this seriously and don't just listen to the media. Those two figures, I would say, had the right formula to understanding how this happened. So the first big piece of this puzzle, I would say, is to know the right moment to start covering this, to go on the offensive, because they were so early that people were noticing more and more stuff, and that's how I think this kind of spread out into the wider public consciousness, so that we were at least mildly prepared before shit really hit the fan, like it is in Italy, and hopefully will not happen to all of us. So we are in the middle of this now. But again, how do we notice beforehand? So I have two very helpful tips that I think can give insight as to what the fuck is going on and how to notice it before it happens. So much like Tucker Carlson, Mr. Mediker, and other figures, obviously, I think Tim Pool and Styx were obviously on this. When the right people are talking about this kind of stuff in limited or smaller capacities, but it gradually builds up as far as coverage, that's when I think is the appropriate time to at least start paying attention and at least start checking in every once in a while to see what's going on. That right there is the first point. The second point, I would say, is once that happens, when events start happening in a very formulaic yet strange succession, that is when to take notice, because it's essentially unfolding like the plot of a script. You have your A point, which is the rising action, and then you have the B point, which is the falling action, and then this time right now, I would say, we are living in the long and drawn out conclusion. So again, to notice this kind of stuff is very important, and if you are early on these facts, all you have to do is wait and they will unfold, because you have no actual agency when it comes to these kinds of events. All you can do is notice and maybe spread awareness. And when it comes to Time and the Truth, time is the most cruel critic of all, because what if this didn't, blow out of proportion? Then we would all look like idiots who were noticing and observing and writing things down. And, the more this kind of shit happens, the more that we can be prepared for anything, even if it's just shit in our daily lives. Like the more we kind of take these kinds of steps as far as noticing, the more easy it is to spot these things before they actually happen. So I'm going to cover a couple other things before I start to wrap this up, but two of them, or the only two I would say, are if you notice that people are being stupid about things, it's just not good to kind of bash them, because you're essentially pushing them away from what is essentially the truth. And, as far as, the people coming into the game late, don't ostracize them. Welcome them to the conversation, because they're in it now, and you'd rather have them in it than just not be in it at all and be doing the opposite of what would be, not only good for themselves, but for the public good. And that's what I would also say about a lot of these people who are still going outside, even though there are lots of closures and stuff. It's like, if you're obviously doing shit like butt chugging, you should be fucking ridiculed at, because it's like, what the hell are you doing, man? There's a fucking viral pandemic going on around the globe. But if they were to realize, like, oh shit, guys, we need to fucking chill. Don't make fun of that person. That person's the fucking hero right there. He's the one saying that, like, oh hey, we should do that, especially right now. And then things improve and the quality of life improves, more importantly. So yeah, the second point is also kind of just more of a reiteration, but it's always to strike when people notice. If lots of people are talking about it, then if you have all the information, all the data, that's when you go in for the kill. That's when you make the commentaries. It's usually like my practice when it comes to making commentaries on shit that I don't see people actually doing the work for, but or at least talking about. It's like, just make the fucking commentary right there. I think that's what caused me to really do that Ethan Van Piver commentary I did like months ago, is just seeing that people were bitching on Twitter daily about his grifting and his dumb shit and the fucking e-drama and his little group of soy boys known as War Campaign, constantly doing all this nonsense to people, and yet all they were doing is talking. It's like, why not just do the work and really hit them where it hurts? So that's really going to be it for this kind of short commentary. I think this is something that a lot of more people need to be talking about, because there are lots of people in society who are ostracized for their quote-unquote fringe opinions, and then they end up being right in the end. So hopefully in the future there will be lots and lots of studies done on time and the truth, and I hope that I have at least engaged this topic well enough to make at least a marginally big impact on the conversation. So to all the people who are essentially just laughing at people who end up being right, you better tread lightly, because in the end, the joke's on you.